everybody, welcome back to my channel. And as you can see, I'm joined by Western Province umpire Emily Norris. So my first guest on my channel, which is pretty cool. And we're going to be, again, looking back at the Ireland South Africa series, the T20s specifically, and going to be going through our player ratings. So no particular order, just going to be going player by player. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So starting with the captain, Themba Bavuma, I gave him a 7. I think his runs were quite important, or for him specifically, it was quite important to get runs in that third T20, certainly for his confidence. Yeah, like how did you see it, Emily?
I think if you're looking at the series as a whole, the T20 series, I mean, obviously, we know he didn't do well in the ODI series as well. But if you just look at the T20 series, I think he's a bit under par for me. I think I'd probably give him 5 or 6, to be honest. Like you said, that last T20 vital innings from him, he needed that definitely. But I feel like he could have done a bit better in the first 2 T20s. So, I mean, looking at in terms of runs, he was a bit under for me. But yeah, I think it definitely helped that he scored in that last T20. But yeah, I mean, he would be disappointed. He would have wanted more runs. He knew he could have done better. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things with Themba. Like, it's frustrating because he has these moments of like these innings of brilliance from time to time, but then the rest of the time it's like just a bit below par. It's like 20s, 30s, single digits, and then the 70, 60, something out of nowhere. But yeah, I think it's important for him, like, not take the batsman side of him away, like captaincy point of view, to be getting like good series wins against Ireland, West Indies. From that point of view, I think we can be quite happy.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. Like, if you're looking at just him from a captaincy point of view, I think he's only lost like two matches being captain or something. So if I'm mistaken, I might be mistaken. But yeah, so I mean that's a good captaincy record for him and a good start for him. So yeah.
His opening partner, Quinton de Kock, 6, but I mean, yeah, it's a bit flexible. I think you could see he certainly had the intent to try and kick us off to a good start. Yeah, how do you think he went?
I think with Quinton, he sometimes just gets the starts and doesn't carry on. So he started well in a few innings that he played, but he didn't finish it as well as he could have or should have. So yeah, I think Quinton probably also a 6 or 7, probably a 6, because at the top of the order you want someone who's going to get 50s or get solid innings. You want to have a good start. So yeah, I mean, if you're just getting 20s or 30s, it's not really that good or not good enough. But I think he did get a start. He just needs to kick on from those.
Yeah, no, definitely in T20s, you need kind of 50, 60, 70. You don't necessarily have to get 100 in the T20. Like 70s, 80s, off like 40, 50 balls can win you games. Yeah, so another opener, Janneman Malan, I gave him a 2. I think there wasn't really much that he did this series. I don't know, maybe it's a bit harsh, but yeah, what do you think?
I'm actually a fan of Janneman, to be honest. I just think he needs more opportunity, and I sort of think he needs a solid position, because I think he opened in one of them or 2 of them, I think, and then he came in at 3 in another one. So I think they just need to establish, because Themba is like adamant about opening. So whoever's with him, it'll either be like Riza or Quinton or Janneman. So there's like 3 different options. I think they sort of need to solidify that other opener, just so that he can sort of get into it. But I think he definitely is an opener, or at least number 3. He just needs, I think, more time and more opportunities at the top. But yeah, I think Janneman is definitely a good ODI player as well. He should be in that ODI side.
Yeah. So, well, one thing with Janneman Milan, would you, for the T20s, would you go Milan, De Kock, Bavuma, or does it have to be Bavuma, De Kock, Milan?
In the
Yeah.
For me, Bavuma isn't an opener in my opinion.
Yeah,
I would
fair.
open with Quinton and Janneman. I think those are two strong openers. Two very attacking players. I can get you off to a really good start. So I'd put in those two as openers, and then I'd put in Bavuma at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to go that way. I think one of the reasons why they wanted Bavuma was to kind of rotate the strike when you have the field restrictions in like those first 6 overs. But I don't think it's worth it. I think like modern T20s, you kind of do have 2 bashes at the top anyway. Like I don't really think it makes a difference, or as much a difference as they wanted to. So like Milan de Kock at the top would be absolutely fine with Bavuma at 3. And like let's say we get off to a good start in those 6 overs, the spinners will come on after the 6 overs, and then Bavuma can work his way around the field, and it still works in our favor. Aiden Markram, I think 5.5, maybe that's harsh. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what were Aiden's? Aiden didn't score that many either in the series, did he?
So
but
30,
yeah,
39 and 8. Yeah, 39 and 8. So
yeah, I think Aiden, like obviously we know what Aiden can do, and he's shown that in the past. But I just think he is a bit up and down at the moment. It's a bit inconsistent. I think with Aiden is he likes to go hard, and sometimes he just mistimes it, or gets caught often. So I think probably for me, I think 5.5 is a bit harsh, but then again, yeah, I mean, probably also a 6. Like I'm going, I'm going like sort of this region for most of them because, in my opinion, like we didn't even play that well in the Island series. We were a better side just because maybe our bowling was better than theirs at times. But I still think like we should have been doing a lot better. Besides the last T20, that was more like it. But the first two, I think the scores are very under par. I mean, looking into the T20 World Cup, those two scores in the first T20s are very under par in my opinion. But I think Aiden probably a 6 as well. He just needs to kick on as well. Like if he's going to be coming in at 3 or 4, he needs to get some consistent performances together.
yeah, well, what's your opinion on Aiden batting at 4 and not opening? Because I know like there's kind of a situation where you almost have 4 openers going for 2 spots. So Bavuma, De Kock, Milan, Markram. England have a similar problem, but do you like Markram in the middle order? Do you prefer him to open, or where do you stand?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think Aiden could fit in a 3 or 4 position. I don't know. I have my heart sort of set on like Janneman and Quinton opening just because they're 2 very explosive players, and you need good starts in T20. So, but I do think they can. I mean, Bavuma can even come in at 4 for me, and have Aiden Markram coming in at 3. But yeah,
Yeah,
he could open, but for me he's I think better at 3 or 4.
Yeah, true. I'm probably the same. Yeah, I think one of the I don't think he'll like necessarily play every single game, but he might come in like in games where we might need a 6th bowling option. I don't know. I'm yet to kind of see him as that 6th bowling option. I still think he's far too inconsistent. But I guess it's better than nothing, just having him like tweaking his arm over here and there.
Yeah.
Russie in this series, 5, 6, I guess. I mean, we know how good he can be, but this series particularly wasn't his best one per se.
Yeah. I think Russie. Yeah. See, this is also the problem because Russie also normally bats like in the top 4. So I think Russie, he hasn't been in the series and performed at his best. We know that. But then again, like you said, we know what Rassie can do. So yeah, I think Rassie would probably 6.5, 6 in the series, but a quality player though. Like he just as well he's just a bit wasn't quite there in this series, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, player of the series, and it's pretty obvious why. Killer Miller, 9.5, 10. I think he showed his class. I think a lot of people, excuse me, a lot of people would have doubted him. But I guess, yeah, we're just seeing like how destructive he can be. I don't think we have a better batter suited for his role coming in kind of 5, 6, can come in earlier. But I don't see him batting earlier given the other batsmen that we have options for it, like 1 to 4, like 5 or 6. I'm happy with it, like seeing him there, striking it at like 170, 180, even 200 in the last game. So I think showed his class, and I'm happy to see him do well.
Yeah, I think it was sort of vital performances for David Miller because, I mean, recently he hasn't been at his best, and I think I even thought that David Miller, someone else could take his spot, but he's shown us that he is a vital player in the team. He used all his experience in those last 2 T20s, getting us vital runs that we needed, and yeah, I think I'd probably give him an 8, and just because it was 7.5, just because of his finishing role that he performed, and he did what we needed him to do, finish the innings off well. So yeah, I think he took 24 runs off like one of the last overs in one of the T20s.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's So I mean, literally extra 24 runs, a lot of runs to play with at the end. So yeah, he definitely showed his class, and he'll have a spot in the squad.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if that was the first or the second T20, but I know we were looking like we were getting like 150, maybe even 140. But yeah, I think it was like the last 2 overs, or particularly the last over of the one game where he just went like mad.
Yeah.
Again, you could be slightly disappointed that we were looking to or heading towards like a 150 sort of total, and he kind of saved us from that and ended up getting like 180, 170. But I guess on the positive side, we're happy that he has the ability to get us out of trouble and get like a big score. George Linder, I kind of only looked at his bowling. I know he can tonk it as well. But yeah, I kind of only saw how well he did with his bowling. So I gave him an 8. I don't necessarily think he'll start most games. I think our spin attack will probably be Keshav, Maharaj, and Tabraiz Shamsi. But I think it's very useful to have George Linder kind of as a backup in the squad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, having George Linder, because him and Shamsi bowl different, they're both left armers, but they bowl different types of spin. So I think having him in the side is useful. And like you said, he probably won't start every game, but the games that he will start, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to contribute. Yeah, he got some vital wickets as on this series, so he's always willing to put his hand up when he gets his chance. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Kagiso Rabada, only the one game. So I gave him a 7, just based on that one game. But yeah, like for me, I know how important his experience at the IPL is going to be come that World Cup. And for me, it's Rabada, Nokia, and Gidi. Like those guys are just so important, given how much IPL experience they have. And whether he had a bad series, a good series, I would feel the same. I just would back him 100% just because I know how important his experience is going to be at the World Cup.
Yeah, I think, so they were definitely sort of switching up the bowling attack to see, what's going to work, going forward. But so yeah, him only getting the one game, I think, was a tactical thing. But like you said, even if he had a bad series, he has all the experience and he's played at higher levels of the game, so he knows how to deal with certain situations, and he's got a good York on him and a good slow ball. So definitely. Death bowling, he'll definitely bowl to death. I mean, out at the start, you can bowl anyway. So it's always good to have a bowler on your side, also just because of his pace. He's got raw pace. So I think, looking at a series, you can't sort of, if you had one bad series, you can't be like, okay, he doesn't deserve a spot now, because he's always going to be useful on your side. So
another fast bowler who, I don't know how many games you'll get, if any, at the World Cup, but very useful to have. Lazard Williams, 6.5. He did have a good performance overall. I think maybe could bump that up, to be honest, based on this series. But just going to be so crucial in the future. Like, I don't know, he's probably one of those fringe players for the World Cup. Be happy to see him if he does go. If he doesn't, then I'm still 100% sure he's going to play so many more games for us, after the World Cup. I do rate him. I think he's got good skills for the shorter formats. But even 4-day cricket, he's got such good skills for 4-day cricket. He's certainly his slow balls in T20 cricket, I think, are very valuable. And how do you see him?
Yeah, I think you made a good point in saying, I think he was one of the fringe players that they were taking a look at, seeing where he's at now, potentially to put him in the side or to have him in the side for the World Cup. So I think they were kind of just, seeing what he can do and how he goes about his business. But like you said, I think he has a good slow ball, a good off cutter, which is useful skills in T20. Because a lot of pace bowlers, can travel for many runs, because obviously batsmen or batters love pace. So I think it's you need to have a slow ball and a good off cutter as a bowler. You need to have a lot of different skills, switch it up. So I think he could be very useful, but it'll be interesting to see if he gets a go.
So Lungi Ngidi and Tabraiz Shamsi, I think, were both kind of in this series very equal in their effectiveness. I gave them both a 9. I'm pretty sure Shamsi is going to be playing every game. I think he's still number 1 in the world in T20s. But again, his partnership with Keshav Maharaj is going to be so vital. Obviously, Tabraiz bringing it into the right-hander, Keshav taking it away from the right-hander. But just their partnership as a whole, they're just so consistent at the moment. It's unbelievable to see. And I'm happy for Tabraiz and Keshav. And then for Lungi as well. As I mentioned earlier, his IPL experience and that winning mentality, being around guys like MS Dhoni and the rest of the CSK setup. But again, happy to see him on form. I think wasn't so great against, was the West Indies. I think there was one series where he wasn't too great, but again, happy to see him at his best.
I think Lungi's sort of been, those bowlers who, I mean, so I think as he goes on in a series, he gets better, if that makes sense. So he starts off being, he's a bit wobbly when he starts off, a bit like a mixed bag, good and bad balls. But then as he gets through the series, he gets better. So I think for him, consistency is a big thing for him. And putting in good performances consistently is important for him. So I'm happy for Lungi. In terms of Tabraiz Shamsi, he's really shown why he's number 1 in the world. Just under pressure situations, being able to pick up 3-4 wickets in a T20 international is amazing. And like you said, doing it consistently is so difficult. But he's able to do it. And that's, I think, what's earned him, places in in tournaments. Apparently, he's staying over for the 100 as well. So, I mean,
Cool.
now he also gets to pick up international experience, which will be very helpful. In the T20 World Cup. So, I think, yeah, Shamsi definitely showed his class, and he showed why he's number one in the world. So his partnership, like you said, with Keshav Maharaj will be really important. And hopefully they can build pressure from both sides if they're bowling together.
Yeah, definitely. His economy rates haven't been too bad either, to be honest, let alone the wickets that he picks up. Vian Mulder, a 6. He had a valuable 30, I think it was the first T20 or second. Yeah, his bowling's been a bit of a mixed bag so far. I think his batting as well, to be honest. But I'm happy to see him getting opportunities. I think he's definitely one for the future. Will he go to the World Cup? Won't he? I'm kind of not too sure at the moment, but I am happy to see him like around the team and getting game time from like now and then. Yeah, I think we have been looking for a world-class all-rounder, and I can see him becoming a world-class all-rounder. It might take a bit of time, but at least we can see potential in him.
Yeah, I agree. I think because I was actually thinking about this earlier. I mean, we haven't produced like a really good all-rounder, in my opinion, like since Shark Colours. So, I mean, we've had a few, we've had a few decent ones since then, but I'm talking about like world class. So I think he sort of has that potential. But I think it's just how they manage that, and how they use him and sort of where they bat him, because they see him as obviously, I don't know what he sees himself, but I think I sort of see him as like a bowling all-rounder. So it's just where does he bat then? And how does, how many overs does he bowl and that type of thing, like just how they factor that. So I think, like you said, in terms of how much time he'll get, or if he'll even go to the World Cup, we'll see. I think he might go, but then it's just how many games does he play is the question. But I think definitely one for the future. I've been watching his bowling recently, and he does have skills in his bowling. I think as a Test player as well, he's definitely a potential. So yeah.
Yeah, good. Bjorn Fortuyn, another spinner. On this series, 8.5. But yeah, I think I would probably put him as our fourth choice, just because, fourth choice cricketer, not necessarily bowler. Just because I think George Linder's ability with the bat probably pushes him ahead of Bjorn. Bjorn can hit it, but he just hasn't really done it at international level yet, whereas George has. Yeah, but I think a very good player. Again, one for the future. At franchise level, he's been very, very consistent. But again, that step up is quite a difficult one for the best players in the world. So yeah, happy to see him getting game time and doing well in this series.
Yeah, I think I was going to say the same thing that you said there in terms of his batting. I think George Linder probably just has the edge over him there in terms of batting. But I think, I always just think of, is his role to bat? And I mean, not necessarily his role isn't necessarily to bat, but if we're in a tricky situation, and if it was either him or George, probably take George simply because, like you said, he can bat better and he can hit a long ball. But yeah, I definitely think Bjorn Fortuyn, is a useful player, and even if he hasn't done, that well internationally, he hasn't played that many games for South Africa yet. So I think the more he plays, the better he will become. And as he works on his batting, I think he'll probably have more opportunities. But yeah, definitely one for the future, or definitely one that can improve. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Björn Hendricks, I gave a 6. I think he had one good performance, then it kind of dipped the next game. I don't know. With him, I've kind of seen what he can do. but the problem is like his consistency. Really, he gets hit around the park far too often for me. Yeah, I don't think he'll go to the World Cup, but he might be one of those that will come in if there's an injury. I think that's what happened in this series. He came in for Sisanda Magala, who, it's a shame, really. I would have liked to have seen Sisanda get another go. I think there was. I did see something that I liked when he played against Pakistan. But yeah, where do you stand with Buren?
I think we sort of on the same page with Buren. I do. He's just a bit too inconsistent for my liking. When he bowls well, he bowls really well. But I think it's not like enough. It's not consistently enough. It's not often enough, if that makes sense. So I think, I mean, you're always having a left arm bowler though. Seeing bowler in your side is like a trump card, but you need that person to then be doing well. You need him to be performing. So yeah, it's a tough one. I think you shouldn't necessarily just take someone to the World Cup just because he's a left arm seamer, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think probably a 6 for me in the series. Just because he has like a really good stock ball, but just sometimes he's just not consistent enough, like we said. So yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not sure if he's going to be going to the World Cup or not, but we'll see. I'd love Sisanda Magala to be going to the World Cup, though. I'd love to see him because for me, I think he bowls really well to death. Well, in domestically he has. So yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah, with Magala, I think we saw he bowled like much better at the death than he did like in his opening like first 1 or 2 overs in all the games he played, which is a bit strange. You'd expect it to be the other way around. But yeah, like death bowling, like that's valuable in T20 cricket. Yeah, I think with Buren, what's interesting is next year's T20 World Cup is in Australia, so better pitches for fast-paced bowling compared to in India and in UAE and Oman, where you would expect spinners to have the favorable conditions. So maybe Buren will get cut just because we won't really need him this year, but if he performs well next year, and he might have a better shot at next year's World Cup than this year's World Cup. Reza Hendricks won game and did what he needed to. So 7.5 from me. Yeah, where do you see him? We've got good batting options, but I don't think he did anything wrong really to get runs on the board.
Yeah. So I've always had like a soft spot for Reza Hendricks just because like I've sort of been watching him, from the beginning, and in my opinion, he hasn't sort of been treated in the way he should have. I just think he hasn't played as many games as he should have. And I think I said this to someone before, like I think he's an underappreciated batsman. I don't know. I really like Reza Hendricks, and I think he always, or more often than not, he scores runs when we need him to, or when he gets the opportunity, he'll do something. So I hope he goes to the World Cup. I think he's missed out before when he shouldn't have. So yeah, I think, like you said, I don't think he's really done anything wrong. He's just been unlucky, and it's that idea of them, 5 batters fighting for like 2 spots or 3 spots. So I think it's kind of just been the luck of the draw with him. I just think he's been unlucky, but yeah, people sort of complained about his strike rate before and things like that. But to be honest, like if he's scoring runs, he's doing something. And I think the last T20 that he played in, his strike rate wasn't that bad. So yeah, I think he deserves more opportunities than what he gets.
Yeah. Like for me, I think easily one of the best domestic batters that we've seen over like the last few seasons. But again, hasn't quite happened at international level. Just because, as you said, he hasn't always had the opportunities to play. It's kind of been game here and there, and
Top start, yeah.
unless you're playing consistently, you're not really going to gain any confidence. So yeah, it's difficult. He might also be like on the fringe of that World Cup squad and not end up making it, but not necessarily because of his performances, just because of the number of batting options we have, which would be a shame. But again, if he goes, I'm happy, and if he doesn't, then I'll be sad. But I can understand why. Heinrich Klaasen. For me, the fact that Carl Verreynne hasn't played any T20s at all kind of heads me in the direction that Klaasen is our backup keeper no matter what, which for me is a bit disappointing. For me, Klaasen hasn't. He's had one or two good innings here and there, but yeah, like recently his scores just haven't been up to scratch in my opinion. And I mean, to experiment with Carl, what have you really got to lose? And for him not to even get a game, it's a bit disappointing for me. Yeah, like, do you also think that they've kind of set their mark that Heinrich Klaasen is our backup wicketkeeper?
That's what it seems like, yeah. Either that or they've seen enough of Carl and they're like, okay, let's see what Heinrich can do. But I'm not sure. So I think recently Carl's been batting. If you're looking at a wicketkeeper batsman or batter, I think Carl's definitely been doing better than Heinrich recently. So I would take Carl's backup over Heinrich, just purely because of Carl's attacking ability and domestically what he's done recently is amazing. And I also just think he's been one of the guys who's also been a bit unlucky in terms of selection and things like that. I think he got one chance. I can't remember when it was, but in one of the series he got one chance and he scored like over 50. So I think again taking those opportunities, and taking your chances. I think it was Pakistan, taking your chances. Like he's someone who always sort of takes advantage of his chance. So I'd also be disappointed if he doesn't get picked as the backup keeper, the first backup keeper. But we'll see. He's still young. He still has many years ahead of him. But I definitely think he's been better than Heinrich recently. So yeah.
Yeah, like for me personally, I would pick Carl over Heinrich, but I like seeing that Heinrich is getting game time. It kind of indicates to me that the opinion that matters, which is Mark Boucher and the gang, is that they're going to go with Heinrich Klaasen over Carl. And I think Carl might also get cut if. I don't think we'll need three backup keepers. I kind of think it's Heinrich or Carl. But yeah.
Is there some high school bias in that answer? No, I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. It's whether you wear light or dark blue.
Yeah.
Last player, Andile Pefluquayo. I think bring up his name, and there's a lot of different emotions that South African fans will bring with the name. One game, 6.5 from me. I don't know where you stand on him. Not necessarily only in this series, but him as a whole.
Look, Andile's also a tough one in terms of South African and cricket and the fans, just because I think for me as well, he's been a bit of a hit and miss player. There's times when he's been really good, and there's times when he's just been really bad with batting and bowling. So I think he was also someone who I saw as potentially being the next all-rounder for South Africa, because there's a time when I think he was batting with David Miller once, and they were just hitting the ball everywhere, and
in Durban, I think
it was in there. But just so for him to, because in bowling as well, he has good slow ball, good off cutter, but I just think he hasn't reached his potential. He hasn't done as well as he could have. So I think a lot of South African fans they're just like, oh, just get Andile out, like get him out of this team, get him out of the squad or whatever. But I think he can be very useful. It's just for me that he hasn't reached where he could have, I think. But yeah, he's a tough one as well. If you're talking about all rounders, I think I'd probably take Vian Mulder over and Ndile Bio. But yeah.
Yeah, it's always a controversial topic talking about him. Yeah, like for me, it's interesting. I actually see him as a bowler, which wasn't the same like stance I had when he initially came into the side. I saw him as, again, like you said, like an all-rounder or potential to be a world-class all-rounder. But batting-wise, I can only really think of the runs he got in Durban. I think it was against Australia.
Yeah.
Whereas batting-wise, I just genuinely haven't seen anything else. I mean, he got a 50 against Pakistan, but it wasn't necessarily a game-changing 50. And then bowling-wise, again, he can pick up wickets. I kind of feel like he picks up wickets off batsmen's errors rather than him putting it in the right spot more often than not. Is it useful to have a guy that picks up wickets and at the same time goes at a good clip? I would say he'll get 2 for 60, like 2 for 60, 70 in 10 overs in a 50-over game. Would we rather have someone who's economically better but doesn't pick up wickets, or do we want a guy that picks up wickets that will get tonked out the park from time to time? Yeah. I don't really know where I stand on that, because again, the wickets he picks up can be valuable, but you're kind of balancing it up with the runs that he goes at.
Yeah.
But I think he will at the very least go as a backup all-rounder. Like, I don't see anyone else. Maybe George Linder, but I'd still think it's useful to have Ndile in and around the squad if he doesn't. I think he will play, but even if he doesn't, like, it's still good to have him in the squad for the World Cup. So that's all the players that have played in the series. Where do you see the team like as a whole?
Yeah, so if you look at the series against West Indies, like, I also think it was a bit of an up and down series. I think the bowling is sort of getting better and our batting is sort of not. So I think we're still a bit. I mean, even though we won both series, I think we're still a bit under par just in terms of our batting. I think our batting is a bit inconsistent. I mean, we scored, I think, a score in 150, a score in 160, and then 189, whatever in the last T20. So our batting improved, but I think against a team like, okay, Ireland is no mug. They're on the rise. The Irish cricket team, they're evolving all the time and they're getting better. But I think against a team like Ireland, we expected to. I expected them to score a lot more. So yeah, I think our batting still needs some work before the T20 World Cup. But I think our bowling. I think if I'm looking at spin, I think the spinners did really well in the series, especially to Brayshaw MC, obviously. But yeah, so I think our bowling, I'm not too unhappy with that. I'm just a bit more unhappy with the batting. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, if you lose 3 wickets, at the top or in the power play, you more often than not going to lose a game. Well, that's what they say. So yeah, I just think we need more solid starts. I think that's what we need. More solid starts and then kick on from those. So
yeah, we certainly.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, like for me, there's not too many things in there that you said that I disagree with. I think bowling wise, I would like to think our 5 bowlers would be the pair of Keshav and Braze, and our fast bowlers Kagiso, Anrich and Lungengiri. And for me, that's actually a world-class bowling attack in T20s. Look, other sides are going to have good bowling attacks, but I think we can be very confident going in with those 5 bowlers. And then, like batting-wise, I would like to see us, 50 for no loss after 6, more than 40 something for 2 in the first 6. Again, we've kind of got batsmen who can be world class at their best, but it's just finding that consistency, as you said. Each individual player can produce world class performances, but I guess just finding them or getting them clicking more often would be nice to see. Ireland they're not the Ireland of, say, 10 years ago. They do have decent players. I'm not just saying it because they have South African born players on their side, but as a whole, they have decent players. Again, it's not the same feeling of winning 3-0 against England, Australia, India, but it is still 3-0. And the West Indies side that we beat, that's still a power pack lineup, with really T20 specialists and some of the best T20 players some of the best players in the format in the West Indies, and world champions, actually.
Yeah, I mean, they went on to beat Australia like 4-1. Although Australia, were missing some key players in that. But I think, just looking at the West Indies as well, like they are world class, but I think they're also just a bit up and down. They can have one really good day and then one really bad day. So I think South Africa as a side, there's still a lot of work to do. But I think if we just nail the top order and the batting lineup, you get the batting pairs correct, and the openers correct. I think if we can open with, like I said, 2 powerful players, then I think we'll be moving forward. It's just about getting the batting to click, I think. But I think I agree with you as well. Like, our bowling attack isn't that bad. I need Lungi to perform. I need Lungi to be consistent, because like, if he isn't, I've seen him travel for tons. But I mean, on a good day, like, he's good. But I think our bowling attack is better than what our batting is right now. But
and I don't know if you've seen in our World T20 group, we have England, Australia, West Indies, and then there's a whole different combination. Like there's so many different combinations of teams we could have. But England, Australia, West Indies, that is quite tough. We have the ability to beat West Indies, as we saw, but they, on the flip side, have the ability to beat us as well. And then if you lose to England and Australia, it's kind of, well, they're good sides. It's like, on paper, it's a really difficult group to get out of. Then when you get out of the group, you're possibly facing India or New Zealand. And then if you make the final again, an India or New Zealand, really. So, the World Cup as a whole, I don't know. If we make the semi-finals, we've probably done well. If we don't get further than that, then I guess this side particularly, it's not so bad. I know the choker tag will come up, but in previous World Cups, we should have done a lot better with what we had. So if this side gets to the semi-finals, then it's not a bad thing for this side. But again, in that gap between now and the World Cup, we have 2 tours. So the next one we'll have is a tour to India with 3 ODIs, 3 T20Is. So again, I would assume the ODIs are for World Cup points, and then T20Is not for points, but certainly good preparation for not just against a world-class side, but the conditions that we're likely to face. Not exact conditions, but similar conditions.
Not Australia. India is looking very strong. I mean, beating Sri Lanka recently with like what they call their B side, or their India A side, is. I mean, I always said this like to my dad, like India could probably beat us with like their C side or something. So they have a lot of talent in their sides, and sort of a lot of T20 players, power players. So yeah, that series is going to be interesting. I want to see how well we can do there, especially in India. Yeah, because you know what they say about South Africa and spin. So
yeah, we won't talk much more about that. And then Netherlands come to South Africa for 3 ODIs. I think similar to Ireland. I think Ireland are slightly better than the Netherlands, but you know, I would be cautious. I would still play them. You know, I wouldn't underestimate them.
Yeah.
But would be confident that we can win 3-0. But yeah, certainly those 3 T20Is in India are probably what I'm most looking forward to. I know the ODIs are for World Cup points, but I think priority-wise, those T20s are key.
Yeah, so, I think never underestimate any side. Like, I mean, we saw what Ireland did. Ireland beat us.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, they definitely, like I said, these nations are like every nation. I've said this before. Every nation deserves to play international cricket. So I think they're all, you know, on the rise, and they all want to be there. They're all, I mean, they hardly get games compared to us. You know, like so. When they get them, they want to win them. So yeah, they're definitely going to be fighting and can be putting in all for those games. So yeah, but like you said, we should be confident that we can win all 3. But yeah, still go ahead and not just take them for granted. But yeah, play good cricket. You do the basics right, and the rest will come. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so thank you so much for being on my channel. You my first guest on my channel, so you can have that, I guess, award or achievement, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, definitely go check out the work that Emily does with Cricket Fanatics. I can link the website to Cricket Fanatics. Is there any other place that you would advise people to go and check out your work?
You can, not my work specifically, but you can go follow Cricket Fanatics Mag on Instagram. And yeah, the link is also in the bio there for our website and stuff. So you'll see articles that I've written, mostly on women's cricket, but I have done a few on men's cricket as well. Yeah, and just you can see me there and the work that I do. A lot more to come, hopefully. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when the season kicks in again, you'll be umpiring as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so once again, to like you guys, the viewers, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Do like and subscribe if you enjoyed. But yeah, cheers for now. Thank you so much.